academically. Our kids need to be able to compete on the worldwide. They will not be competing with the person sitting in the chair next to them in that classroom. They have to be able to compete with the kids in Asia, with the kids all over this world. And so if we want to maintain our presence as a world leader, we need to better equip our kids and help them understand why they need math and science, because we're exercising your mind. I wanted to give voters an option to say, hey, here's somebody. I'm a mom. I'm a small business owner. I just want to have a decent life for my kids. And so I'm willing to do the work to bring progress for our families and our communities, and to really, try to bring people together in our country that we're hurting, we're divided, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And we don't have time for rhetoric and games and posturing and divisiveness. We're going to need to work things through and be focused on united goals. And that's what I'm about. I want to get the work done that brings progress for our families and communities. I am, faith is my operating system. So I get asked a lot, how do you reconcile? How are you, a Christian and a Democrat that would support codifying Roe v. Wade? And so do you believe that God gives everybody free will to make the decisions for their lives? Because I do. And if that's the case, do you believe that the role of the church, my role as a Christian, and the role of the government, each of these have limits, but each of these have their own role? Because I do. As a Christian, my role is to tell everyone it's in the Great Commission. God loves you. God accepts you where you are. He loves you. He's paid his price for you. That's the role of the church. It's not my role to judge anyone. The role of government is to act in the best interest of people. And so it is not the role of government to exert a greater level of authority than God gave it, because God designed the government. And so God doesn't say to the government, hey, you get to undermine my God-given free will to control people. And even if we're talking about these abortion bans, they simply go too far. It's not that I say, oh, I want people to have abortions. Absolutely not. And it's not that. It's not that I want that. It's that I respect people's choices and I understand the reasons why. Until we get to the reasons, we're not being honest. Who do you think God is the more upset with? Those who fail to speak for the vulnerable and oppressed, for the people who are struggling in poverty, the people who are trapped in trafficking or domestic violence situations they're victims of rape and incest? Is God more upset with those who are allowing that, aren't speaking for those people? Because here in Texas, we have rape kits that sat on the shelf for 20 plus years. We've told rapists, we don't care if you rape our women. And rape, by the way, is not about sex. It's about control. It's about saying, I don't care what you want. I don't care what you feel. I'm going to do whatever I want to you, and there's nothing you can do about it because I'm bigger and I'm stronger. And that's what the government is saying right now to women. Because if the government really cared about women, we wouldn't have had rape kits sitting on the shelf for 20 years. If our government cared about our kids, we wouldn't have all these kids in foster care coming out of one trauma into another trauma, and we don't have homes for the kids that are in foster care. So do you think we're going to have more or less kids in foster care with abortion bans? We have women, right? We don't care about women. We have women who they have to literally be on death's door because they're sitting in the emergency room and the doctors won't touch them because they're afraid of losing their license. That's not okay. We have women that the baby it's not viable. It doesn't have a brain, but it's dead already inside of them, but they're forced to carry that for 9 months, knowing what's inside of them growing is already dead. That's trauma. That's severe trauma. You're trapping women. Those are tragedies. If you have a medical necessity or you have a non-viable pregnancy, that's a tragedy. And it's a terrible decision for a doctor, to say, hey, this, and I know doctors aren't always got it right. I know there's women that the doctors told them that child is never going to live, and they did. I have a sister that the doctor said she's not going to survive. And my parents would not pull the plug, and she's alive today. I know those situations happen, but those are really tough decisions, and that's not always the case. It's very rare that you're told that it happens. It happens, but it's very rare. At the end of the day, that's a tragedy, and it's a hard decision to make, but it's a decision that the woman should be making with her doctor, not the government. And we need to understand this. What we're also not talking about is we're not trying to legislate men's bodies. We didn't say, hey, men, we're going to have bans on condoms. We're going to make it illegal, criminal for you to get a vasectomy or to use the pull-out method. But we're saying, women, you can't drive down the road and we're going to track your menstrual cycle. This is really terrifying for women. And a grandmother now, have a 1-year-old granddaughter. And I have, my daughters are now in that age, and my son. And right now, we have 20-somethings that are going to get their tubes tied. And the men are getting vasectomies because they don't want the risk. They say, hey, you know what? Pills and condoms, they're not 100%. And I'm not going to get in a situation where the government is now going to tell me what I can do and it controls my life. These are extreme measures. And so we have to understand the action, reaction. And this is not okay. We need to have a balanced approach and deal with why women have abortions. Let's say, hey, you know what? We need to have a very clear medical necessity exception. And it shouldn't be that you're about to die. We should not have women with cancer and serious illnesses that they cannot get treatment because it would affect the child. And so they can't get a treatment. So that child is born to be an orphan. What? No, this is not okay. Jesus' harshest criticism was for the religious leaders of that day. So yeah, let's care about the unborn child, but let's not do that at the expense of who's living and who's right here in front of us. Let's make it so women really have a choice. So it's their choice for their body, and they're paid. We're still being paid 67 cents on the dollar compared to men. You know what? We don't have, for all the overturning of Roe v. Wade, where is our paid maternity leave? Where is our child support enforcement? Because there's a lot of times you could spend years fighting for child support and never see a dollar. So let's deal with our lack of medical care. We want you to have that kid, but no, you can't have medical coverage. I think we have to, as a government, we have failed women. We have failed children for decades here in Texas, especially in Texas, because our broken foster care system, we've been in contempt of court for over 7 years now. We have children who have been from one trauma to another one, and the correlation of children coming out of foster care going into the prison system is very high. We need to care about these kids, and we need to have limits. I am very concerned about women going in and having multiple abortions, and nobody ever says, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? What help do you need? Let me tell you about all these resources. You don't have to go through this alone. You don't have to come back here. Let's find out, what do you need so that you have a life worth living and you can choose to have your kid. Let's deal with minors. You got a 9-year-old that's pregnant. You don't think that something is going on there that's not okay and is not safe? They have an abortion and they go right back to the situation? No. Let's deal with the causes. Let's be reasonable. Let's be balanced. But I'm not into the extremes on either end. I want a balanced, reasonable approach that respects women and values women, and let's take care of the life that we have. For a lot of the divisive issues we have, we need to have people in office that are focused on solutions, not rhetoric and posturing and using things for political currency. Can we stop the BS? Can we stop the all hat, no cattle kind of stuff, right? And let's get to the real issues that are affecting people's lives. Listen, we love our kids. We want what's best for our kids. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care where you were born. We all love our kids and want better for our kids than we had, that we went through, for a lot of us, right? So we need to look at our public education system. I have a draft bill that I've been working on for 3 years. And it's called Transparency and Accountability in Public Education. And we need to look at how we teach, the format that we teach, the content that we teach. I agree, but we also need to protect our infrastructure system. Our current public system, I'm not saying it's perfect by a long shot, but the enemy is not the teachers. Our teachers are going in there to serve. And unfortunately, more and more, these teachers are like our modern day soldiers, because they may go to work and not come home. they're spending more time with our kids than some of the parents are. So I'm not going to make teachers the bad guy. We need to properly pay our teachers. We need to properly equip our teachers, and we need to give them a system. There are teachers. There's teachers. They're working till midnight. They're working on the clock. We are not being fair to our teachers. We can't be holding our teachers hostage because we want a voucher system that takes tax dollars to give to private entities. If you're using taxpayer dollars, that building that you're being paid for with taxpayer dollars needs to be owned by taxpayers, not a private entity. Because that you're talking about dismantling our infrastructure. It's $1 trillion public land grab in Dallas, and probably even if you take the smallest county in Texas, their land, you're talking millions if not billions in every single county. In a county like Dallas, that's $1 trillion public land grab. You say all of our public schools, they're now dismantled, they're going to be shut down, closed down, shrunk. That land is gone. You're never going to have the capital to bring that back together again. It's gone. And those buildings are what taxpayers have been paying for since the moment they bought their house. So we have to think these things through. Even if you look at superintendent pay, I did an in-depth research on 3 years of charter schools. The 10 zip codes in Texas with the highest incarceration rate. The people that are the people that are in jail in Texas, what zip codes do they come from in Texas? Those top 10 zip codes have very similar things in common. And one of them is they have failing public school systems. The independent school district and charters. So guess what? The charter schools have done no different. Dallas ISD, I looked at every charter school and every ISD, and every charter school, every ISD within a 1 mile radius of a charter school is equal or better than the performance of the charter school. And Texas, this is the 5th year that they have not released the performance of the schools. Hey, listen, it's not really about partisanship to me with Republican, Democrat, but the Republicans have been in control of Texas for over 30 years. Greg Abbott has been there a really long time. So if we say that our school system is bad, I agree. But we're also one of the least funded in the country. We're on the bottom spectrum of the funding. You've been in control of it. And for the last 5 years, you haven't even released the performance. That had nothing to do with COVID. We're way beyond COVID. So take ownership of it, right? And let's fix it. Let's fix it correctly. And breaking it and, is not the answer. That is not the way to go. So I want to see our taxpayer dollars. We need to have the transparency and accountability. You're using taxpayer dollars, then we need to have the performance. We need to see what you're doing with it. We need to have the reporting of what is happening here with these bonds, and it's not there. And so I want to look at what we do at a federal level, right? If we look at Title I funds, you'll see the vast majority of charter schools are in Title I areas. You know why? Because that's where the profit is. They're getting your regular funding plus your Title I funding plus your SPED dollars. So that's where the profit is. No, let's everybody calm down and stop fighting over vouchers. Let's have a system that works, that is equal footing. So I don't care if it's a public school, a charter school, a voucher school. I don't care what you call it. If you're getting tax dollars, you should all have the same level playing field in terms of transparency and accountability. And if we're doing that, then I don't care what you call it, as long as the taxpayers are having what they paid for in that school. Academically, our kids need to be able to compete on the worldwide. They will not be competing with the person sitting in the chair next to them in that classroom. They have to be able to compete with the kids in Asia, with the kids all over this world. So we have a lot of confidence in our intelligence in the United States, but comparatively, we're not being honest with ourselves. And so if we want to maintain our presence as a world leader, we need to better equip our kids and help them understand why they need math and science, because we're exercising your mind. There's this great website. It's not mine. I don't know who put it together, but it's phenomenal. Okay. The number 25 and period me. When it opens, it's how will Project 2025 affect me? I care about. When you click on that, it gives you all the different topics. You click on the topic you care about, and it will break down and tell you exactly what Project 2025 will do, and it tells you the page number that it's on. Because Project 2025 is over 900 pages of public policy that would be implemented if Trump is reelected. And so this is their plan. This written by the Heritage Foundation. These guys, this plan has been out for about 18 months now. It has hundreds of millions of dollars behind it. It is a plan already in motion. And it is chock full of things that would destroy our Constitution. It's chock full of things that are currently illegal. And if Biden or Harris or anybody else or Obama had said he was going to do any of this, people would go ballistic. But this is really crazy thing. So just an example, just a few examples. Let's take 11 million people out of the workforce and put them into work camps. What does that sound like to you? It's what we did to the Japanese during the war, and it's what Hitler did in the Holocaust. So that if Trump wins on Inauguration Day, they're going to use those buses to start picking people up, and they want to take them to the FEMA camps. We have FEMA complexes around the country so that if there is a natural disaster, people have a place, they have a place to house people and care for them as they're dealing with this natural disaster. So they want to use that as work camps, okay? So U.S.-born children, if both parents were not citizens at the time, they want to strip them of citizenship. So now they don't have a country. What is Christian about that? Now where are these kids going to go? Because now they don't have a country. So you would have to be changing the Constitution. That's just one thing. And what if all you care about is the economy? What do you think is going to happen to the economy when you take 11 million workers and consumers out of it like that? You think that's going to be good? Because I don't think that's going to be good. Now, do we need to fix our broken our broken immigration system? Absolutely. And the bill that was blocked and never brought on the Senate, it wasn't great. I would have done some different things, but it was something. I encourage everyone, go and look up asylum eligibility. You know what the first thing that comes up? The first item to be eligible for asylum, you have to be in the United States or at a port of entry. So we want to talk about illegal. Let's dehumanize them. This is the same exact pattern that Hitler did. It was called the Enabling Act of 1933. And Project 2025 is what is strategically the exact same thing of Hitler's Enabling Act of 1933. That's what it's about. Look up. We have to change our process. We have a broken process. People are coming to our port because that's the requirement of the process. If we said, no, you have to apply in your home country or apply at a country in the process, not just to be a worker, but for asylum, it would change. But we're saying you have to be here or at our port. So they're like, hey, I'm coming. We're not talking about, so let's deal with that. But let's not dehumanize them. Let's let's own it. Let's own it. Another thing in Project 2025, women would no longer have the right to vote. If you're married, your husband will vote for you. You don't go in. Your husband will get 2 votes, his and yours. Or if you have a father or if you have a brother, they will vote for you. But women will not have the right to vote. How do you like that? We're just incapable of making a choice to go in and vote. Does that sound reasonable to anybody? The Department of Education would be eliminated day one. So vouchers that Abbott has been trying to do will be nationwide. You're going to completely destroy public ed. There'll be no boundaries, no rules, because these are privately, they can do whatever they can hire whatever they want. Now, I don't know about you. I've had 2 churches now. Like, we love our churches. We love our pastors. Okay. But there's pastors who've been there for over 20 years, and then it comes out that they've been molesting little kids for forever. We have not done a good job, and now we want to hand them our kids in our schools? This is not brilliant. This is not a good plan in a lot of ways. As a church, they can hire who they want to. They don't have to do background checks. They don't have to have cameras. They don't have to have any of that. Even with charter schools right now, we have foreign countries operating charter schools right here in Texas. They're getting our taxpayer dollars, and they're our enemy politically, and we're giving them our kids. We're giving them our money. Then we're saying, hey, we want you to, you're a science magnet. Teach our kids, know who our future scientists are. Here they are. This is not good. He wants to eliminate the Department of Justice, strip the EPA so that there's no control. Businesses can pollute us, pollute our water, pollute our air, pollute our food. Are we sick enough now? Every time we come up, what are we afraid to buy? Because everything what can we buy and we can eat it and it's not going to have a recall? You want to strip the EPA? Our housing is unaffordable because now we have corporations buying up all these single family homes and it's pricing us out of the American dream. It's all about big business. If we can't afford our groceries because you have four companies that control the majority of our grocery chains, four companies that control the majority of our meat. You're talking a small handful that are controlling these major industries. And because they have those monopolies and they're price gouging, that's why we can't afford things. So we have to break up those monopolies. We have to support our small and medium-sized farms and businesses so that there's competition. Airlines, we used to have like dozens of airlines. Now we're down to a handful. And that's why these prices are what they are, because of the lack of competition. It's greedonomics. It's greed. That is what is controlling the inflation. And here's the thing. If you have big business and you have the 1% that they want tax policy so that they're richer, they control the narrative because they control the prices. So if they want everybody to be pissed off at this current administration, then that's what they'll do is like, hey, we'll put the squeeze on you because we don't want people in office that are going to change the tax policy. So if you look up the facts on what Trump's tax policy did, it went to the top 5%. So the bottom 60% say it was $70 and the top got $60,000. So you get 70. I don't know if you remember the cartoon. There used to be the cartoon of Bugs Bunny. So we need to have a tax policy and use about oil and gas. Some of these industries, not only are they price gouging us at checkout, they're getting subsidies, billions of dollars of subsidies from taxpayers. So we're paying it either way. We're paying it coming. We're paying it going. And then we're like, oh, why is this so bad? Because we're giving it to them, and then they get to buy the politicians. They'll buy the seats for the politicians that give them the policies that make them richer while making the rest of us poorer and sicker. So we need to do something different. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. We have to stop electing people just because we like them. They're personable. They look like us. We grew up with them. You grew up with them. You went to high school with them. You knew what they were about then. We got to be tired of being trickled down upon, because that sounds like you need to go to the restroom. Let's stop being content with at least. Well, at least this, at least that. I'm not interested in at least. I'm not interested in tokens. I'm interested in a fair shake for every American family. I am someone that is going to be very honest, very transparent. I'm someone in every process. I want to talk to every stakeholder. I want to understand what your viewpoint is, what your motivator is, and can we have united goals? Let's have united goals that are focused on the best interest of people. If all you want to talk to me is about how much profit you're going to make without thinking of how it affects other people's lives, we're going to have a problem. But if you want to say, hey, and I get people, it's like, we all got to make a living. I get that. But let's not abuse power because we can. Let's do the right thing. So that's what I'm 100% committed to serving the people of this district.